Well, hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We're going to record Mike in the Midwest here because I got a million things to do and have to be on an airplane at 5 o'clock in the morning. And let's get this set. We'll try to record the next Mike in the Midwest live from Walt Disney World next week because I'll be down there till next Saturday. And so I'm not taking the studio, but I am going to take the MacBook and I'll see what I can do to get one recorded from like Coronado Springs or wherever I am. Get some live audio to you. So we'll see how that works. But stand by. I'll try to get that done. Probably won't be video, but I could probably do audio to get it up here. But because audio is kind of a jam more than the video thing. Nobody wants to see me anyway. All right. This is going to be a fun one. I'm talking about a super obscure topic today. So here we go. I've been wanting to do this one for a while. Here we go. Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to episode number 96 of Mike in the Midwest, a mini podcast for the amazing patrons just like you of the Be Our Guest podcast. Today is Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, and I hope you are doing well wherever this show finds you. So glad to have you here on the Patreon show on Mike in the Midwest. It is a beautiful day here in St. Louis, Missouri, here in St. Peters, actually a little bit to the west of St. Louis. I mean, blue sky. It's let's see, looking on my taskbar, 67 degrees and sunny. Gotta like that. And the Cardinals getting ready to play the Mets downtown at Busch Stadium here in about first pitch is in about 5 minutes. So hopefully we can salvage one game against the Mets. We've had pretty bad luck the last two nights. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's a beautiful day for baseball. Beautiful day just to be outside, but it's a beautiful day to listen to a podcast, right? It's one of the things I love about podcasting. It's fun to podcast, to put the shows together, from this end of it. I love doing it. I hope you guys have noticed that over the last 14 years. Podcasting is amazing. I love getting to do this with Pam, Ricky, Scott, our guests on Monday. It's awesome. But I also love listening to podcasts from all over the world. I'm telling you, I've learned so many things by listening to other folks' podcasts, and not just Disney podcasts. I listen to Disney shows, but I listen to tech podcasts, listen to retro podcasts, some sports podcasts, other kind of general travel podcasts. And it's very cool because you get to learn different perspectives. You get to go places virtually that maybe you never will get to go in your lifetime. It really does expand your horizons and get you hear from people. You get to hear from people that you wouldn't have heard from otherwise. And another thing I love about podcasting while I'm on this real quick is the podcasts that I really like are kind of like the guy in his basement, kind of like this show is a lot of times. Just a guy that you would have never heard of otherwise if it wasn't for podcasting, because, this guy or this woman probably wouldn't be on the radio and wouldn't have an audience, but podcasting democratizes it. It makes it easy to get your message out there to a larger audience, albeit a niche audience, right? Because a lot of people don't listen to certain podcasts, but I like people to have the passion. For example, I'll give you an example today of a podcast that I spent the last 3 hours on the treadmill listening to. I listened to it for about an hour and a half yesterday, on the treadmill, and about an hour and a half this morning. And I think I've mentioned this show before. I love this guy, this podcaster, and I've never met him. He's down in Oklahoma City. His name is Rob Flack O'Hara, and he's his podcast is called You Don't Know Flack. And the reason he calls himself Flack is because kind of like me, we're the same age, because he's, and he just talks about his life. He tells stories. He's an author. He's like a kind of an amateur author. He works in IT, he works for the FAA and IT. He's told his whole life story. Basically, his whole podcast is kind of like Mike in the Midwest. And I like it because he just tells stories from his childhood. He tells stories just of life, but he had a lot of similarities. We're the same age. We both were born in 73. So we have kind of the same, pop culture events happened about the same time in our lives. But he also grew up working with a Commodore 64. He was on BBSs. He wrote a book called Commodore. And I love that because I ran a BBS. I was a huge Commodore 64 nerd in middle school, in elementary school. I ran a BBS where people called into my house and I had bulletin boards and I managed all that. I loved it. So I love hearing his stories, but his stories are about cars and about jobs, working at Best Buy. It's just a fun story, but it's a fun podcast. But it's interesting because he just picks topics that he gets super passionate about. And again, he's in his mid to late 40s, like I am. And all of a sudden, he's interested in what's called van life. Now, I've never really heard of this, but for the last 3 hours on his show, he had to divide it up into two shows because it got so long. He's talking about this whole subculture of people that apparently have moved into vans and they live in vans. Now, I'm not talking like big vans. I'm talking like regular, like vans you see go, cargo van size that you see going down the highway, even some minivans where people, will just travel the country and, just pull off into a parking lot and that's where they'll sleep. And inside these vans, they're real, they have beds and some of them have sinks and some of them have little mini refrigerators and all kinds of stuff. I had no idea, but there's like a subculture called van life, this van life community, and he's gonna make a van. He's not gonna give up all his belongings in Oklahoma City. He's got a nice house and an in-ground pool, and he's got two kids and a wife. But he wants to just, he just wants to kind of check it out. So he's gonna buy an old, used van, and he likes to build stuff, and he's gonna get in there and try to add some cabinets and put a bed in the back, I guess. And the whole thing is, you got to like black out the windows so nobody knows you're in there and kind of hide out in a Home Depot parking lot and see if you can sleep there for that. I'm not doing this, but the whole thing is to get back to my point about podcasting. When I listen to his he's a good storyteller. That's the reason I love his stories or his show. But the thing is, I had no idea what van life was. But 3 hours later, I was intrigued and I had all this knowledge about this whole thing that is a thing, I guess, that 3 hours before I had no clue was a thing. I mean, I had no idea. Like, so now, trust me, now every time I go down the road, I'm gonna be looking at vans like, okay, is that a solar panel on the top? Is somebody living in that van? Or is that really just a cookie delivery van? Or are they faking me out because they're living in that and they want me to think that they're delivering cookies? Anyway, that's why I like podcasting because, you're not going to hear that on commercial radio or satellite radio, terrestrial radio. It was just something that very few people probably listen to a show. I mean, just like ours, like on the bigger scale, we have a big download audience, but on the huge scale, we have a very tiny download audience compared to the planet. But it is something that every time I see ding, you don't know Flack pops up on my podcast app. I'm like, yes, I get to hear a story. And that's really what it comes down to. It's almost like Illuminations. We've all gathered here around the fire, around the iPhone, and we're going to listen to a story. And it's going to be about something you had no idea that you even knew about. We're going to learn about van life. It's crazy. And I like that kind of stuff. So that's why I like podcasting. And I hope you guys like it too. All right. So I've kind of told you about the weather. We're getting ready to head down to the Summit Cheerleading Championships tomorrow morning. Our flight is at 5:40 a.m., very a.m. So we're going to have to get up at about 2:30, kind of make our way over to St. Louis Lambert International Airport and get on the old 737 and head down to MCO. We're staying at the Holiday Inn Express when we get there. Tomorrow we have, because Mallory doesn't have anything tomorrow. She's not allowed to be in the parks on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. So tomorrow's our day to go to the parks because it's a business trip, right? They're cheerleaders, and the gym says no athletes can be in the parks. Friday's practice day, Saturday and Sunday's competition. Cannot go to the parks. So we're gonna go to Epcot tomorrow because it's the only day is the only theme park that I could get a theme park pass for. And then we're gonna hop to the Magic Kingdom after 2 and have some fun there. And so who knows what else we'll do there. Friday night, I know we're having a team dinner at Planet Hollywood at Disney Springs, so that'll be fun. I'll be posting pictures of the whole thing. So be ready. Watch my Instagram at BRGuestMike, Twitter too. And I'll be posting stuff on the Patreon Discord too. So make sure you look up here on the Patreon page and pick up the Discord because the Discord's fun and I want to use it more and more. I'm really kind of liking the Discord over the past month, especially during marathon registration that saved me. But I think Discord is kind of a neat little thing. Anyway, I'll be down there this weekend, and then I'm hanging out until next week. We've been invited, Pam Forrester and I, to the media event for Guardians of the Galaxy, and there's a couple other things at Epcot. It's May 4th to the 6th is the actual event. So I'm hanging out instead of coming home because Pam and Mallory are coming home on Monday night. And I was going to have to come home on Monday night and go back on Wednesday. So I'm just staying down there at Coronado. So I'm going to stay down at Coronado, just hang out and, ride rides or something. I have an annual pass. So yeah, and so that's where I'll be, and I'll be posting pictures. So I hope you'll follow along. I'll try to record a mic in the Midwest if I can figure out how to get that. I'm so used to my system here. I know how to do it here. And I know it's not brain surgery to record something on a MacBook. Everybody else records podcasts on Macs. This is a PC. I have my system. I just sit down, I start talking, I know how to record it. I use Adobe Audition, and I'm set. You can't teach an old dog new tricks, though. But I'll try to figure out so I get you guys a podcast next week because I never want to miss them, but I will try. Also, today we found out that 2023 itineraries for Disney Cruise Line will go on sale next week, depending on your Castaway Club level. I will say that we are pretty sure that we have a date for the podcast cruise for 2023. That's right. We did not take one in 2021 because of the whole mess of COVID and the shutdown, because we always do them in the odd numbered years. We did 11, 13, 15, 17, 19. We did not do 21, but we're coming back strong in 23. I will give you a heads up, just so you know, this is 90% confirmed, but you've only heard it here, and don't spread the word because you're a Patreon. I'm going to let you know you're a patron. Please don't spread the word yet because we will make the announcement, but we're not confirmed on this yet, but we're looking at and the reason we're picking this sailing and this ship and this itinerary to make it the most affordable, the new ship, we want to go on the Wish, and to make it where most people can get off of work and bring the whole family, because we are a family show. We want the family to be able to be there. We're looking at the July 3rd, 2023 4-night Bahamian cruise on the Wish. Okay, here's the reason. One, it's a shorter cruise, so it's going to be as affordable as we can make it. It's over the 4th of July holiday, so hopefully people will have time off from work, okay? And that'll be kind of fun to have the 4th of July on the ship. We can celebrate the holiday together. I love the 4th of July, so it'd be kind of fun to celebrate that together. Also, with kids that have, if you have kids in sports, like Mallory's going to have cheerleading, that's a dead week for a lot of sports. So that you probably won't interfere with like anybody that's involved in like football, cheerleading, soccer, stuff like that. So we picked that. Also, it has a day at sea. We love sea days. So that'll be fun too. So that's kind of what we're looking at, July 3rd, but we haven't announced it yet. We haven't confirmed it yet, but just hang tight on that date. If you want to sail with us, we'd love to have you because we want to, podcast cruises are the bomb. I mean, Scott and I met on a podcast cruise, and look, we're brothers now. There you go. All right. So that's some of the news. Let's hit the feedback from last week, and let's hit this week's topic. I don't want to make this show super long because I still got to pack. And I got to run up to the UPS store and do some stuff. All right. Last week, we talked about unofficial elementary school games, stuff that we played at North County Christian School that right now, if you played them, probably be a felony. I told you about the game we used to play called Butts Up. I don't know how we got away with that in the 80s. Oh my gosh. We played paper football and knuckles and slaps and pencils. I don't even know if these were the right names. That's what we called them here. I don't know if you guys did those games, but here we go. Michael Corbett says, I'm a 34-year-old middle school teacher. I still see a few students playing paper triangle football and a few people playing the hand slap game. Don't see the knuckles one anymore. Mostly, however, I see kids on their phones. They may be sitting next to each other in the commons area at school, but don't interact much at all. The only positive of this is that we see a lot fewer fistfights. Michael Corbett, he is a junior high teacher out in Utah. And he says, I'm holding my breath, waiting for a podcast cruise update. Well, there you go, Michael. That is the details. As of right now, nothing official. And I'm not putting this out to the whole podcast community, but this is a smaller group and this is the heart of the show. So you guys, you get a little perk. That's it. You guys are going to know first. I'm looking at July 3rd, and I've talked to Pam Forrester. July 3rd is what we're looking at on the Wish. So hang tight. Just kind of think about it. Give me some feedback. I mean, let me know. Mike at brguestpodcast.com, what you think, or on social media, or especially on the Discord. Let me know. The Discord would be the best place, the Patreon Discord. We could start a thread. All right. And hang in there in middle school this time of year. Whew, it's tough. Chrissy Arthurs, thank you so much for being a patron. Says, hey, Mike, you mentioned that you weren't sure if any kindergarten teachers were in the audience. You do have one. Yes. Kindergarten has been my favorite grade to teach, hands down. Everything you said about us deserving a blank check, etc. That's how I feel about grades 5, 6, and 7. I don't know how those teachers keep going, especially these days when things have gone so very sideways in the profession. All the power to them. And let me keep the 3, 4, and 5-year-olds. I'll tell you what, I mean, we got a middle school teacher and we got a kindergarten teacher. I'm with Michael. I would take middle school any day of the week because they can play on their phones, right? They entertain themselves in a pinch. Like if you tell them, okay, we're gonna have 30 minutes of silent time, just play on your phones. They can do that. You tell kindergartners, you got to be quiet for 5 minutes. There is no way kindergartners can't sit still for 5 seconds. Like they're gonna, woo, they're everywhere, and they need you like nonstop. It is exhausting. Christy, no, you're wrong. Kindergarten teachers, I mean, middle school teachers, don't get me wrong, because they have to deal with the attitude all the time. When I taught sixth grade, I swore I had a saying that I told everybody, and it is still true. There's no meaner thing in the world than a sixth grade girl. Nothing. A sixth grade girl could hold a grudge longer than anybody. Anybody. I'm not kidding. There's kids that I taught probably in 99 that are probably still holding a grudge about somebody that butted them in line back then. I'm just kidding, but they were mean sometimes. Those sixth grader, the boys would like punch each other and they were over it. Like that was it. A sixth grade girl, man, it was just, whew, they were mean. And I'd talk to them, like, come on, let's get over this. You could not reason with some of them. It was just forget it. All right, Len Wilcox, thanks for being here, Len. Love having you. Hey, Mike, a couple of weeks ago, you're talking about the spirograph on Mike in the Midwest. That got me thinking, I bet I can make a program or a web page that provides a similar experience. I have done that and wanted to share. And he actually provided a link here. If you go to the to this thread under episode 95 of Mike in the Midwest, the comments here, it's wilcox-family.com /spirograph. That's .html. The program starts pause, so you have to press the start button to begin drawing. For cleaner transitions in the drawing, press stop to make changes with color, radiuses, or the ratio. Then press start again to resume drawing. One last thing I might add is an automatic color cycler. I'm going to have to check this out because I didn't check this out this week. It's been crazy busy with getting ready for the trip, but I'm all about an automated spirograph. God, I love spirographs. So Len, that's amazing. You could do this. I got to check it out because the links, I'll have to copy and paste the link into a new window because it's not a hyperlink here, but I'll check it out. Awesome. Thanks, Len. I'll be playing with this afternoon. Then I got to do work. Maybe I'll be playing with it on the airplane. Michelle Camber, my good friend down in Boynton Beach. Hey, Mike, we definitely played pencils and slaps. The girls also played a lot of those hand clapping games with a friend where you sing some kind of rhyme and have choreographed hand movements. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. Paige played those with her friends all the time. I taught how to leave those out because I taught sixth grade. It was constant. The and it was like, there was just a rhythm and a rhyme and and they would just not stop. Like we were waiting for restroom breaks and everybody had to be doing them all the time. Like, just stop. She continues, at recess, we often played Foursquare and Chinese jump rope. I loved both of those. Some sanction PE games were Steal the Bacon, Red Rover, and Wall Dodgeball, which I'm sure wouldn't fly today. Yeah, Red Rover. Okay, Red Rover. Two things. You're either going to clothesline a kid and like break their neck, or somebody's going to get a broken arm. Like, how did we get away with Red Rover too? I saw that the other day because Mallory talked about them playing it. Steal the Bacon? Maybe. Dodgeball. Dodge bombardment is what we called it. People got smoked. On another topic, so excited for your trip to Disneyland. We stayed one night at the Disneyland Hotel at the end of our trip, and it was amazing. Great choice. I recommend the Walk in Walt's Footsteps tour. Can't wait to follow along. Michelle, I cannot wait. It's going to be amazing. Yes, I cannot wait to get to Cali. It's going to be so cool. Even though now we have a connecting flight, but that's okay. I've never done a connecting flight, so I'll feel like I'm an Amazing Race or something. Okay, that's going to do it for the feedback. If you have feedback about this show or any other show, just swing by patreon.com/BeOurGuestPodcast. I want to hear your thoughts. And okay, today's topic, it's going to be quick because again, I got a lot I got to get done before I have to get on that airplane and time is ticking. So I wanted to bring this up and I've been wanting to do this show for probably a couple months actually. But then I'm always like, no, this one is way too niche to talk about because nobody's going to know about this thing. And then next week, I'm not going to have any feedback to talk about. And I love the feedback. Without feedback, it just kind of makes the next show not as fun. But I am going to talk about this because I was passionate about this in Paige, and I love this. And it was a digital cable television channel. and it was called Nick Gas. Now, let me just give you a little background. I'm not a Nickelodeon fan at all. Like, I didn't ever watch SpongeBob or any of the programming. I wasn't a, you can't do that on television kind of fan. I never watched Nickelodeon. I was like my nephews. I have nephews that are probably like they're graduating high school this year. So I don't know. They're 18 now. And I mean, they grew up like they were locked on SpongeBob and their TVs were always on Nick. And I was always like a Disney guy, right? So instead of Disney Channel, they were always watching Nick programming. So that was kind of their thing. I never ever did watch Nick growing up. However, I remember now. Here's a little bit more backstory. So you might know that Paige, I call her my daughter because she is, but she's actually my stepdaughter because Pam and I got married when Paige was about 9. Okay. But I've known Paige her whole life because Pam and I taught next door to each other at an elementary school. And Paige went to the school. So Paige was always either in my room or Pam's room because we taught next door to each other. So after school, she'd come in. I always had the cooler games on my computers in my classroom because I'd hack them. So I'd always let her play on the computer in my room because I'd always, like I said, like if she wanted a game, I got it and I put it on my computer. It's like, so that's where she played all the games on my computer. And like so weird is like buds. And so, right, as we were, dating and first got married and stuff, and we were kind of bonding. I mean, I've been in her life since she was like 3 years old, but I mean, this was when she was like 7, 8, 9, right as we were getting married. Over those summers, because we were both teachers, we had a lot of time off. So we just kind of hang out at the house. We didn't do it. We went to Disney once every summer, but then after that, we didn't have a lot of money in the summer, so we just go maybe to the swimming pool. We'd hang out around the house with all the neighborhood kids a lot. But one of these channels that we found, and it was weird because it was a digital channel, which meant it wasn't in like the 1 to 100 range. It was like up in like the 200 range, where it's like specialty channels, like weird channels that you don't normally come across. But like one night I was just flipping through the channels and I found this channel and it was called Nick Gas, and it was put on by Nickelodeon, but GAS stood for Games and Sports. Now, one of the channels that I've always liked on cable was the Game Show Network. And you probably know that from the podcast. I've always been a big fan of, old game shows like Card Sharks, Press Your Luck, Price is Right. Any of those old game shows. I get a kick out of those things. But here's the thing. Nick Gas, what it was a collection of kids game shows from about 10 or 15 years before. So these were from like the 90s. Now, I didn't really watch these game shows when I was younger, like because I was in high school then. So I wasn't watching this stuff. But like Paige was like 9 or 10, and Paige was all about sports. And she still is. I mean, I mentioned it on the show today that she has been named the director of basketball operations for the University of Illinois, Chicago. So that's pretty cool. She's in charge of a basketball program now. I hate that she's leaving Mizzou, but hopefully she'll get back. But I'm excited for that. But she's always been about sports, and so have I. So in the summertime, we would put this channel on, and this channel did not have commercials. All it had between shows was like promos, and it would have like interviews with athletes and talking about, different sports around the world. But the thing was, like, here, some of the shows that you would see on this channel, and maybe you remember these shows, maybe you don't, but there were shows like Double Dare or Family Double Dare, or there was a game show called Legends of the Hidden Temple. Have you ever heard of that? I'm sure you have, right? With Olmec, the big rock. It was kind of like Survivor for kids, but like you had to go through a maze, you had to answer some questions, and it was just like it was on a set. It kind of looked tropical. You had to like sometimes you had to cross like a little moat. It was just teams against each other. The Silver Snakes. It was so fun. Like, even though like I loved how much she got into it. And we would always like at the beginning of the show, there was always 6 teams, like the Silver Snakes, the Purple Piranhas, or whatever. They all had kind of a weird name. And not always be like, oh, I got the Purple Piranhas today. And she'd be like, I got the Silver Snakes. And we'd pick our team and we'd see who won. That was kind of how we did. And we like bonded over this. So we loved Legends of the Hidden Temple. There was a game show called Finders Keepers, where there was this kind of, everything's on a set, right? But this big house, and so these kids would answer questions and gain, like, if you answer the question, you would win a chance to search a certain room in the house, like the bedroom or the kitchen or the basement. And then when the time came, you would go up to that room and they'd read a clue, And then the kids would just tear the room up trying to find a hidden object, like to win a prize. So like, I'd say, I can't come up with like a rhyme or, clue right now, but you'd be looking for like a bottle cap or something. And I mean, the kids would just destroy the room. They'd flip the bed over. They would pull stuff off the shelves. And the thing was, they'd usually kind of bury the thing even worse. But it was so fun. So we'd watch that. There was a show called Figure It Out where there was clues and you basically had to play. Now, this was a game we used to play during church when the sermon got too long. My grandpa would draw all these dots on, like on in our church, we had it wasn't a program. What do we call it? It was just kind of like it showed like everything was going to happen during the service. Like, it showed like the invitation, the opening, all the hymns we were going to sing, the title of the message that week, and like the invitation song, and then the benediction and all that stuff. All the announcements were on the other side of the paper, but there was always a little blank spot for notes during the sermon if you want to take notes. And my grandpa would always draw all these dots, the bunch of dots. And what you'd have to do, you go back and forth and you'd put a line between the dots and you had to make the square, right? And if you finish off the square, you put your initial in there and you won the square. And then by the end, it was who got the most squares, right? Everybody's probably played that game. I don't know what it's called, but that's what we played during church. We probably should have paid attention. But that was kind of the game that was on Figure It Out. But what happened was, instead of like when you finished a square, it showed a piece of a picture. So there was a larger picture, but you only saw one section come in at a time as you finished off that square part of the larger picture, and you had to guess what the big picture was. And it was a really cool game. I mean, it was really interesting. Again, for the 90s, we were watching this this was probably in 2008, 2009, because these were all older shows that were being replayed on Nick Gas on this program. But like I said, it was 24 hours with no commercials. So we would this was like the original binging. Like, there were times we would put this channel never went off on our TVs sometimes, especially I don't know why, but we loved it in the summer. So we'd turn it on and we just kind of leave it on. And there were times we watched we watched this thing for 3, 4, 5 hours. It was crazy. There was another show that was called, let's see, Nick Arcade. So this was a great show because I was a computer nerd when I was like in the 80s, like in elementary school. And they would bring out like old arcade games, and kids would like go head to head playing each other at these arcade games. But they really weren't arcade games. What they were console games that were put into what looked like stand-up arcade games. And so they would go battle back and forth, and you had to they'd say, okay, you got to get 7,000 points here in 1 minute. And you'd watch them and they'd like bet, how many points do you think are you going to meet the challenge or not? And then the thing was, at the very end of this show, Nick Arcade, the winning team got to go in against what was it called? It was like a kind of a virtual reality thing. But I mean, again, it was way early. It was in the 90s. And you had to try to beat this virtual reality villain, and you'd be ducking stuff and jumping over things. It was hilarious. And it was so fun. And we would get so into it. So you had Nick Arcade. I talked about Finders Keepers. Yeah. The thing. Oh, and there was a show. How can I miss this? Guts and Global Guts with Mike O'Malley and Mo. Let's go to Mo for the scores. And you try to get a piece of the Radical Rock. That's what you won. Oh, I'm telling you, I want to go back. This channel's no longer on the air. It was a great show because it was super tight, because there were only probably about 8 or 9 different shows that it would just keep running through all the time. But they were so similar because they were all kids' game shows, but they were all kind of physically competitive game shows that you could move from one to the next and you wouldn't lose your attention span. But they would all switch it up just a little bit. And it was fun because we love that. Paige and I are super competitive. We are. I mean, we're super competitive, and we love competition, and we love seeing people do these physical activities. And this channel was geared to us. Now, apparently this channel started as I did some research. It was shut down on December 31st of 2007. It became the N, which I think was Noggin. So if you're looking for that, but it looks like it started as I'm looking on Wikipedia. I don't see. Yep, ended at the end of 2007. It doesn't say when it started though. But it was, yeah, it was just one of those things. No, it launched in looks like it says it launched I don't see it. I'll have to do more research. I'm terrible about research. But oh, here it is. It launched March 1st of 99. March 1st of 99 it launched and it closed December 31st, 2007. So yeah, this was when we were watching this and it was just we loved it. I mean, this was a great channel. I don't know if you ever saw this, but here's my question to you. I mean, did you ever have a channel like this that nobody else really watches that you were just super into? Or something that you've binged that just nobody else knows, that nobody else cares, but you are just so invested in it and now it's gone. Now, a lot of things are come back streaming, but see, this really couldn't even come back as a streaming thing because the great thing about it was that it was a channel. Now, Pluto TV, which I like, it's an app that's free and it is streaming TV. They have 24-hour Love Boat channels, 24-hour Buzzard TV, which is old game shows. I love that app, and I use it on the treadmill every morning. I watch old Amazing Race episodes, Price is Right with Bob Barker. I love that app. And they had some of these game shows on there, but they took them off for some reason recently. But is there something like this, or do you remember Nick Gass? Did you watch any of these shows? Please leave some feedback. I'm going to check it out while I'm down at Walt Disney World. All right, I got to get out of here because I got to pack and I got to get to Florida. But until we talk again, you guys be good, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you real soon.